Hi, my name is Brian. Today I'm going to go over 3 different lighting setups that were all used with bounce light in these 3 short films that I recently posted on my YouTube channel. Basically just want to show you that you can get some pretty rad footage with just bouncing light. And just a side note, in the description below, these 3 films, I created 3 different LUTs from them for Sony a7 IV S-Log3 footage. And so feel free to get those in the description. And if you're a DaVinci user, I also put the power grades in there. Those are linked in the original shorts down below. If you go in the description of those, then you can download the power grades from there. And the power grades are pretty rad. You can do some cool stuff with them. And then you can also kind of see how I build out my node trees and node structures when color grading footage, which can be helpful if you're just getting into nodes in DaVinci, or if you know what you're doing. It's cool to see other people's workflow. I always like watching other people's, so this is mine. Some quick tech specs of what we shot this on. It was a Sony a7 IV with Atlas Orion anamorphic lenses, and these lenses are super sick. Just rented them, had a long weekend with them, and yeah, shot some super rad footage with them. But it was interesting because the Sony body's, it's a tiny little body. These lenses are just massive metal, chunks of glass. So when I was actually shooting with them, I'm holding on to the lens and the body's kind of dangling off the back. But it was cool. It was fine. We got some cool footage with it anyways. Make sure your image stabilization is turned off if you're shooting on an Sony a7 IV or possibly other cameras with in-body image stabilization if you're shooting anamorphic, because it will get super wonky since you're, it's stabilizing the image like this, but then vertically squeezing it. It's just super weird stuff. So that's a tip that I learned, and hopefully you don't have to make that same mistake because you watch this. Here are some quick clips of the short films. So yeah, take a look at these. If you like the lens setup in it, stay tuned. I'm gonna show you how we got it.
And then our eyes are closed as we're playing, we're jamming again, and she's like, I heard that, baby girl. And I'm like, whoa, what? So wait, no, now we have to stop. What did you just say? She's like, I heard exactly what you said. And I'm like, how is that possible?
My name is Matt Vollmer, and this is my pottery studio in Salt Lake City, Utah. I took ceramics for 2 years in high school, and then ended up going to school at the U. I studied multidisciplinary design up there, and really didn't throw it all. I didn't take any ceramics courses. I just did product design and like digital and physical products.
No matter what day, no matter what time, I can always grab a paintbrush and forget about everything else. But it's also giving me a chance to explore what emotions people are inspired by or triggered by even.
So first clip, let's get into this really quick, is every time I shot one of these, I would hand the person I was filming a little camera afterwards and say, hey, would you shoot some BTS of me on set talking about the lighting setup? So I'm gonna play that right now, starting with Andy, the guitar player, and yeah, watch this.
Okay, so here's what we're doing right now. So we just shot the first guitar scene where we have a spotlight cutting some light across, and then a big Nova flagged off, putting some red on the wall. And then we just jammed the XLR audio into this Zoom H6 black, H4 black, H5 black, something like that. And then we shot it on the 32mm Atlas anamorphic. Now we're gonna do the interview part on the 80mm, and this is what the exciting part is so we talked about light and how we're gonna bounce it. And so we're actually, normally you just take the softbox and put it right on the subject, but we were like, well shit, we have this big white wall, so let's just use that as the source, because it's already kind of dark in here. So what we'll do, that's at 100, it's a 120D, so not the brightest light. We'll crank that up to the top. You have shadow side over here, light coming in over here, so we'll shoot this way. And then we'll just dial in those lights down to match exposure on the face. Because right now with this being at 100, not being super bright, those ones might be too bright. There's a mouthful, but that's what we'll do. And then we got this little fuzzy thing going in, so let's do this interview. Woo!
Okay, so some notes on that. You can see that I had a softbox on and then bouncing the light off the wall. Super kind of pointless. Yeah, the only thing I was doing by keeping that softbox on was reducing my light, which wasn't the goal. I just had the softbox on already, and I was like, it kind of looks better bounced off the wall. So that's why that's on there. But typically, if you are diffusing and bouncing, you always want to bounce before you diffuse, because that's how you're gonna get the softest light, if that's your goal. Here, I was kind of okay with some harsher light, so wasn't too worried about it. But especially if you're bouncing off like a shiny surface or like a metallic surface, you definitely want to diffuse after, because it's kind of like bouncing off a mirror if you think about it. But if you're bouncing off just like a white wall, for example, I'm just right now bouncing off an Aperture 120D with no attachment on off a white wall, and that's how I'm getting keyed right now. But you can get some pretty cool stuff with just simple bounce like that. So yeah, that was an Aperture 120D bouncing off. Other thing with Andy is we had the red Nova, the Nova in the background set to red, and we flagged it off on one side with just some black fabric that I got from Michael's for like $10. And that was just to, you know, add a little more dimension in the background and cut it from red to dark a little bit faster. And then that slash, that was the aperture spotlight, kind of just going in for some hard light on it. So just different layers of light on them, nothing crazy, but did some pretty cool footage. And then in DaVinci, I keyed out some lighter parts in the image and then changed those to like this mosaic artistic effect. And that's how we got like the wobblies when he's playing guitar and jamming like that. All right, let's get into Matt. He is our ceramics genius, and here's some BTS from Matt Shoe.
Put my glasses up. Oh. All right, cool. Hey guys, I'm Brian, and today I'm going to show you how we kind of lit this ceramic studio owned by Matt Vollmer, and just how we shot some of the B-roll and actual the interview setup. So B-roll, it's not set up for that right now, but we were basically just bouncing the Nova off of wherever with using this $20 piece of felt from Michael's as some negative fill. And then for the interview setup, which is what we have right now, we were shooting on an A7 IV with the PO to E mount adapter, and then the Atlas 50mm anamorphic. Just shooting it in 4K on there. And then Matt, if you'll toss me to the camera and sit down in the setup, I'll kind of show you what we have around here. So here's the star of the show right here, and as you can see, that's on a 24 on just the Sony, so we were a little bit punched in, 50, something like that, with the wideness of the anamorphic. And then what we did was we put the microphone running right there into the zoom, and that's just hooked onto the C stand right here. Then for the key light, we kept it simple. We just took a Nova P300C at 5600 Kelvin to complement the daylight up there that's coming in the room. Bounced it off, kind of match exposure with the background and the face, and then just put a little negative fill in right there. And as simple as that. And then what I've done the past 2 interviews was have the subject actually talk to kind of either the wall or a piece of art. And I don't know, do you think it worked out?
I think it worked out.
It worked out too. Kind of keeps it a little more natural and allows you to just kind of focus on the wall and not have to make eye contact with someone, which shouldn't be unnerving, but sometimes it's like easier to just get right into it if it's a 2-minute interview. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.
Cool. So you can see with Matt, 2 things I want to touch on here is I bounced the Nova into a corner rather than just off a wall to the side. This was, you know, Andy's, we did off a wall to the side. I wanted more dramatic side light, everything like that more so. And with Matt, I wanted more a natural wraparound, but still put some negative fill there just to give it a little more dimension. So yeah, if you're bouncing into a corner, then you gotta think about it. It's almost like a squarish cove light, if you know what something like that is. And it kind of gets wrapped around the face all the way around here, which is pretty cool. And then we had some sunlight coming in from up here, which was nice. Also, other thing about this, speaking simply about ease of use on set, rather than booming in a mic and adding in a bunch of extra effort with another stand, I just used a little magic arm, clipped the boom to the light stand, and then it's like everything was on one stand, which was super cool. So that was Matt. Now we are on to Emma, the painter. BTS of that now.
So this is the interview setup that we just did. I just wanted to show you behind the scenes. We just sat on a Pelican case right here. Pelican 1510, the perfect interview seat. And then just shot it from this angle right over here. And all we're doing is bouncing this Nova off the corner at 4000 Kelvin at 56%. And then just a little bit of black negative fill right here, just to give her face a little bit of dimension. And other than that, just a couple Aperture MCs in the background and a practical in the background. And I'll show you some footage from it, but it gave a really cool look. And so that was kind of the whole honing our skills section. It was fun. We got to try something different. And
Yes, we did.
yeah, thanks for watching.
All right, 2 things on this. So again, we bounced into the corner with the Nova. It was yellow paint on the walls in the corner, and so it was really warming up her face. And so what we did, and kind of giving it a yellow tinge, which like almost kind of like green or something. So I turned the Kelvin on the Nova down to 4000 just to kind of balance it out, give her natural skin tones, while still keeping that yellow in the background, just to stay true to the room's color kind of with the yellow. But you could do whatever there. You can mess with white balance in camera if you only have a daylight balanced light, but a lot of options there. That was just my solution to that. Other thing with here you'll notice is I'm pretty sure there's only one stand there, and I put the negative fill. I actually just put a black reflector, clamped it onto the Nova case, and then she was just sitting on a Pelican case, and I think I was sitting on a Pelican case, which was pretty chill. So yeah, it made the whole thing super easy with just one stand, and I think it's something to take when you don't have to necessarily be, you know, look as professional if you're just making stuff for fun. Be resourceful, stack things on things, lean things up against things. Maybe this is shit advice, maybe it's terrible advice, but I think there is a beauty in, you know, using your environment to hold your gear or whatever have you. And then the other thing with Matt and with Emma, I wanted to get that handheld, like, you know, interview side look thing that you can see there. And so I had him basically just look at a point on the wall, and then I would ask him questions, but I would say just respond to that point. And one of two things happened. It was nice because, I was interviewing for 10, 15 minutes each. And so they were able to just kind of zone out and talk looking at a wall, which made the warm up into questions a little bit easier, it felt like. And then number two, I was able to just fully focus on the image and not have to worry about necessarily making eye contact. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing if you're trying to get emotional response, but worked in this case. That's what I wanted to share with you guys today, is that you can bounce light and get some pretty badass looking footage with just bouncing light. You don't always have to diffuse. You don't always have to, use a bunch of scrims or, nets or anything to get crazy light. Sometimes just point it at a wall, bounce it off, good to go. 10 out of 10 recommend bouncing light if you don't bounce light that often. It's super easy to do, way faster than setting up a bunch of diffusion, and can give you some beautiful results. And a quick reminder, if you like any of these looks or footages from any of these clips or those shorts that I just showed you, you can get the LUTs down below that I created after grading them. I just exported the LUTs from DaVinci. Or if you want the power grades, which are super cool too, click on the video, the original links below, and then in those descriptions is the power grades. That's just a sneaky way to get you to watch those if you want the power grades. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and thanks for watching.